It's Nolan. Now, before we get started, make sure y'all hitting that like button. Make sure y'all sharing it on your respective platforms. Let somebody know what we're doing today. Now, let's get into the show.
Yeah, lot of controversy that do not disturb me. Got dreams of a million, cannot defer me. Got a ring on my finger, I retired my jersey. Fuck, nigga, y'all suck like the plot of Kirby. I'm him. All black on the scene, doing me high. No, I got the game covered like knee highs. I be killing on my foes like FIFA. Flows on kit like FIFA. Fila, E-I-O. Green on me like G.I. Joe. Hold my chest like a peacock glow. Southside nigga with an east side hoe. Hitting at the chicken number 3 combo. Type of nigga lead EB, John Doe, 3D, Camp Creek on the creek, zone 4 with a nigga play street. Leave his cheeks on the floor, can't speak no more. First verse in surgery, it's only me versus me. Nobody else hurting me. I burn niggas to the 3rd degree. Like Jazz O, niggas certainly. The best nigga that rap, I don't mean just virtually. These are the 4 just worker bees. I flex up like Hercules. I hit a nigga in the shit so hard that it hurt to sneeze. It's Nolan.
What's going on, beautiful people? It's the kid J Nolan here. Welcome back to another episode of Inside the Industry, your number one source for music, entertainment, commentary, and breakdowns. Hope everybody's doing well out there this evening. In this video, we're going to be following up on the Megan Thee Stallion versus Milagro Grrrls lawsuit and issue. All right. Now, once again, I always remind y'all what we're getting into with this. Megan Thee Stallion is suing Milagro Grrrls for online harassment, cyber stalking, spreading of a deep fake video, defamation. Okay. Now, in this update, we're not going to be talking about Milagro Grrrls directly. Although there has been a lot of talk about her deposition. I didn't read the deposition. It was very long. But there are a lot of payments, messages, different things that she's been attempting to hide from the courts, all that have been discovered in, in the discovery phase of this lawsuit, being that Megan hired a forensic team to come in and go through her phone and look up all her apps and her things that she had been trying not to submit to the courts. They ended up finding all types of stuff, right? So she's in a bad position. But now Caesar McDowell, who used to represent Milagro Grrrls via Unite the People, which is also the organization that is supporting Tory Lanez. Tory Lanez also serves as a board member for Unite the People. Just a couple months ago, Caesar McDowell dropped Milagro Grrrls like a bad habit after she was down talking him on Station Head. He let his feelings be known to a random person, I guess, via DM on Instagram, right before he tossed her ass to the curb. But now Caesar McDowell has had to answer to his involvement or his knowledge of any communications between Milagro, Tory, or anything that he may know concerning this case. He basically put up a difficult deposition as well, just like Tory Lanez did. Once again, we're not going to read the deposition, although in the paperwork submitted by Megan and her legal team, we will get a glimpse into the nature of the deposition without having to go through 500 plus pages of bullshit, because Megan is now trying to bring Caesar McDowell up on sanctions the same way that she did for Milagro, the same way that she's been trying to get sanctions on Tory Lanez as well for his disrespectful deposition, and also get legal fees out of them. So all of these people are having to pay up, and we haven't even reached a final verdict. This is all just along the way shit for them being evasive, disrespectful, and generally assholes. All right. So we're going to get into the paperwork regarding Caesar McDowell, Milagro Grrrls' former representation and financier for part of her legal fees, and see what we have here for the sanctions. All right. So we have paperwork here. Plaintiff's motion for order to show cause why Caesar McDowell should not be sanctioned for deposition, misconduct, and for redeposition. And of course, that redeposition, if brought forth, he will have to pay for it out of his own pocket. So pursuant to Magistrate Judge Reed's direction by email to the parties and Caesar McDowell on August 25th, 2025, Plaintiff Megan Pete moves for an order to show cause why Mr. McDowell should not be sanctioned for deposition misconduct and requests a redeposition under the court's inherent authority. Okay? And we're going to get into when that hearing will take place. Preliminary statement. From the very first minute of his deposition, Mr. McDowell made clear he intended to obstruct. Now remember, Caesar McDowell is the head of Unite the People. Unite the People is an organization that is supposed to help underprivileged, underfinanced, or disparaged individuals that don't have resources for them to get legal aid. So he is supposed to be a professional. Here's how he performed in his deposition. As he warned, this ain't going to go good. You know that, right? And he kept his word. Mr. McDowell responded, I don't remember over 350 times. I don't know about 170 times. And I don't recall about 43 times, totaling over 550 evasive non-answers that made meaningful testimony impossible. Now, the thing about I don't remember, I don't know, I don't recall, it never makes you look good in front of, you know what I'm saying, when you're being evaluated for being truthful. Yeah, you may be putting up a fight and you may not be answering the questions, but it also doesn't build any merit for your, for people to believe you. Being argumentative or difficult always makes you look guilty. Mr. McDowell's misconduct went far beyond feigned forgetfulness. On camera and under oath, Mr. McDowell rolled a cigarette filled with a substance resembling marijuana during questioning, then smoked it during a break. So I guess he rolled a blunt. He demanded painkillers, threatened to urinate in the deposition room, called plaintiff's counsel a bitch. Wow, that's low. Made inappropriate comments about her appearance and walked out mid-questioning. His conduct shocked the conscience and made a mockery of this court's authority. In fact, after his deposition concluded, his own attorney agreed that he should sit for another deposition that would be supervised by the magistrate judge in this case. So his own legal representative, who's supposed to be helping him, says, yeah, this was horrible. We need him in front of the actual judge to keep him in line. Because of his egregious behavior, the court should sanction Mr. McDowell. This case centers on the defendant allowing herself to be used to broadcast defamatory statements about Ms. Pete at the urging and behest of the man who shot her. That would be Daystar Tory Lanez Peterson. The lawsuit arises from defendant's false claims that Ms. Pete lied when she testified that Daystar Peterson, the rapper known as Tory Lanez, shot her in July 2020. Daystar Peterson is currently serving a 10-year prison sentence for shooting Ms. Pete. In an attempt to exonerate himself from prison, Daystar Peterson enlisted the defendant to spread the defamatory statements. Because Daystar Peterson was subject to anti-harassment orders barring him from making such statements about Ms. Pete himself, he uses intermediaries to communicate this information to defendant. Let's read that last sentence over, shall we? Last two sentences. In an attempt to exonerate himself from prison, Daystar Peterson enlisted the defendant, as in Milagro Grrrls, to spread these defamatory statements. Because Daystar Peterson was subject to anti-harassment orders, barring him from making such statements about Ms. Pete himself, he uses intermediaries to communicate this information to defendant. Now, if y'all have been watching anything concerning the DJ that don't spin, they say he was also, he actually released video of a virtual deposition of his own, because he has also been known to speak poorly of Megan Thee Stallion and claim that he had information directly from Tory Lanez at once upon a time as well. Allegedly, streamer Aiden Ross has also been deposed. We don't have proof of that, but we have seen the DJ that don't spin put out footage of his own deposition. I chose not to cover it because I don't think that's actually legal to put that video out like that. But who knows? I don't know how that process works. Anyway, in the footnotes here, I guess these are some quotes. They say, you don't know, as the CEO of your own company, if being on the board is the same as being, he cuts them off, says, you don't mind if I roll one of these while we talk, right? So this is the him rolling his joint. Another question. They ask, so who helps you with the social media posts for Unite the People? He says, I don't know. Hey, do you have any Tylenol? My tooth is starting to kill me. I don't know. Okay, so he says his tooth was hurting and needed some Tylenol. Another one. Miss Harapetian says, so marking as Exhibit 100, tab 18, Miss Dixon, I just had 92, the witness. We have to take a break in a minute. I'm going to have to get me some more Tylenol. What time did I take that Tylenol at? What time was the lunch break? Was it lunch break when I took the Tylenol? It was before the lunch break. So he's interrupting them while they're trying to figure out exhibits. Mr. Hayden says, we're still on the record, guys. Another question. Let me finish. I have one question left. He says, no. You are just saying I finished the question. You just finished your question and I answered. I gotta go pee. Now I can pee here or I could pee in the bathroom. Mr. Hayden says, let's just get through her question. Let's move this along, guys. Everybody come on. Miss Harapetian. And I would just reflect for the record because I'm not sure if it picked up. But while a question was pending, the witness walked off, left the room while he was still speaking, and he called me a bitch and asked what the fuck is wrong with me. He also said something about having nice hair, and I think it's very interesting that he commented on her hair. He said nice hair, where Tory Lanez, in his deposition, said somebody's hair was distracting him because it looked so bad. Interesting. Ms. Harapetian, please have the record reflect that the witness has walked off in the middle of my questioning. If the court will find it helpful, Ms. Pete will furnish the court with the videotaped record parts of the deposition. See email between D. Humphrey and M. Hayden attached as Exhibit B. We'll continue. One intermediary is the deponent, Caesar McDowell, a close friend of Daystar Peterson. Mr. McDowell is the founder and CEO of Unite the People, the organization that represented Daystar Peterson during his appeal. UTP also represented defendant for the first 6 months of this litigation and continues to represent Daystar Peterson in his appellate proceedings. The conflicts of interest among them are undeniable, as acknowledged by Daystar Peterson himself. Remember, Megan's legal team had phone transcripts of Daystar, aka Tory Lanez, asking Unite the People if them representing Milagro would be a conflict of interest. Caesar McDowell assured him that it wouldn't be. We all looked at that with curious eyes. Daystar Peterson sits on UTP's advisory board and has donated substantial funds to the organization, including $50,000 to pay legal fees for other clients. Plaintiff's counsel deposed Mr. McDowell on July 25, 2025. His testimony is critical to proving how Daystar Peterson circumvents court orders. It is also necessary to demonstrate the scope of damages resulting from their campaign of harassment, and Ms. Pete sought the deposition to prove that UTP and Mr. McDowell used their relationship to funnel false information from the shooter, Daystar Peterson, through defendant into the public domain. Mr. McDowell knows that. He has every reason to be combative and uncooperative to protect not only Daystar Peterson, but himself. Because remember, he was having the conversations with Tory on jail calls, coming up with the strategy of how to help Milagro. and bringing her on board. He even asked if it would get him in trouble, as I previously stated. That's exactly what he did. And that's exactly why court supervision of his deposition is necessary. Discovery also shows that Mr. McDowell provides misinformation to defendant about Daystar Peterson's ongoing legal proceedings, which defendant parrots to defame Miss Pete. Interesting. So they say they have records of Caesar providing misinformation to Milagro, which she then takes from him and has put out publicly. UTP has made public statements on Daystar Peterson's behalf regarding this case and provides him updates about Miss Cooper's representation. Mr. McDowell is not a lawyer and is not licensed to practice law. As UTP CEO, Mr. McDowell had a duty not to impede those proceedings, and let me finish this, and participate in his deposition in good faith. Instead, Mr. McDowell refused to answer most questions. In the rare instances he did respond, his testimony was evasive, implausible, and often contemptuous. Let's see the footnotes here before we move forward. This goes back to the deposition here. In a recorded prison call on October 30th, 2024, Daystar Peterson asked Mr. McDowell whether Unite the People might have a conflict of interest in representing Miss Cooper, given Daystar Peterson's role on Unite the People's board of advisory, among other factors. Another piece. Canadian rapper, singer, songwriter, and record producer Tory Lanez stopped by the Unite the People office in downtown Long Beach and donated $50,000 to pay off the legal fees for 30 families on Friday. Another piece here. And these are, footnotes relating to what we just read, giving additional context. Statement from Caesar McDowell, CEO of Unite the People, stating, "If you know Tory Lanez how I do, good luck trying to get him to testify to anything. It's just not what he does. And he definitely did not agree to testify now." Now, if you're legally representing somebody, would you expect, and I know he's not practicing law, but would you expect somebody that's facilitating your legal aid to speak in that way? Sounds like a motherfucker straight off the goddamn street. Not in the streets, but off the street. On this October 30th call, you read Tory a press release that UTP would issue the next day about representing Miss Cooper, correct? He said, sound like it. Now they have further quotes. As CEO, are you responsible for determining the overall vision and objectives of UTP? He says, maybe. Maybe. He says, yeah. What does that mean? He says, well, I'm not a dictator. Another question. Most of UTP's work involves post-conviction matters, correct? He says, I don't remember. You are the CEO of Unite the People. You don't know whether most of UTP's work involves post-conviction matters? He says, again, I don't remember. Does a large amount of UTP's work involve post-conviction matters? He says, yes, finally. UTP focuses on helping prisoners with appeals and sentence reductions, correct? He says, I don't remember. So if we go to the judge in this case, he says, let's go. Who are you going to tell her has the response to these questions since you don't know or don't remember? He says, I don't know. Let's do it. At one point, when asked to verify an Instagram post, Mr. McDowell mocked opposing counsel. They asked, do you recall making that post? He says, I don't remember. Any reason to doubt these are your words? He says, I would absolutely doubt that these are my words, on his own Instagram, no less. Okay, well, you are welcome to pull out your Instagram and go to this post and compare it. Do you want to do that? If you don't believe me, we have time. We can do it on a break. He says we can do it all day. Yeah. He says, hey, I have nothing to do today. Same, I'm so glad. Caesar says, you feel me? That's what I'm talking about. Yeah. You want to do lunch after this? So now he's asking for a date. Actually, we ordered lunch, so yeah. He said, did you? Yeah. He says, I would not eat nothing from you people. Mr. McDowell's obstruction is part of a coordinated effort by key third parties to prevent the court and jury from learning the truth about their defamation campaign against Ms. Pete. Just weeks before Mr. McDowell's, the fact that your name is motherfucking McDowell's is fucking eating away at me, you coming to America ass nigga. Excuse me. Just weeks before Mr. McDowell's deposition, this court held Daystar Peterson in contempt for deploying identical tactics, feigning ignorance, making inappropriate comments about counsel's appearance, and refusing to cooperate. And Livingston Allen, known as the DJ that don't spin, the social media personality who worked with defendant and received information from Messers. I don't know what that is, or who that is, I should say. Peterson and McDowell to spread false narratives about Miss Pete, similarly obstructed his deposition with evasive testimony and selective memory loss. All three men, Messers, Peterson, McDowell, and Allen. Is Messers Aiden Ross' real name or something? They all used the same strategy of systematic evasion when discovery threatened to expose their coordination. Their synchronized obstruction reveals a coordinated effort to shield their defamation campaign from scrutiny and prevent Miss Pete from obtaining evidence of the damages it caused. Sanctions against Caesar McDowell for his discovery misconduct are warranted. Courts of justice are universally acknowledged to be vested by their very creation with power to impose silence, respect, and decorum in their presence and submission to their lawful mandates. These powers are governed not by rule or statute, but by the control necessarily vested in courts to manage their own affairs so as to achieve the orderly and expeditious disposition of cases. The court's inherent power to police itself and assert its judicial authority extends to non-parties. Accordingly, a federal court may bring before it, by appropriate means, all those who may be affected by the outcome of its investigation. Emphasis added. It also extends to a full range of litigation abuses and permits the court to assess attorneys' fees when a party has acted in bad faith, vexatiously, wantonly, or for oppressive reasons. So they're citing case law as to why sanctions and perhaps attorneys' fees would be par for the course. Invocation of a court's inherent power requires a finding of bad faith. The key to unlocking a court's inherent power is a finding of bad faith. To impose sanctions against a non-party, the party seeking sanctions must show that the non-party, 1, has a substantial interest in the outcome of the litigation, and 2, substantially participates in the proceedings in which he interfered. Sanctions against Mr. McDowell are appropriate here for the following reasons. They then get into his inappropriate conduct, which we've already established. Okay? Bad faith also occurs when non-parties engage in an unrelenting campaign to obfuscate the truth. And bad faith occurs when deponents disrupt the basic administration of a deposition with outrageous behavior. In Ludwin v. Proman, the court easily found that defendants' conduct at the deposition constituted intentional bad faith misconduct and issued sanctions under its inherent authority because the defendant was combative and confrontational during his deposition, was smirking, cursing, and yelling at plaintiff's counsel, flippantly refused to cooperate with basic instructions, watch television, cook pasta, and drink wine during his remote deposition, amongst other inappropriate behavior. The court reached this conclusion because it is essential that the parties, attorneys, and witnesses participating in depositions conduct themselves with civility and decency. Now, for anyone just joining us, because we always have people jumping in and out, that is not about Caesar McDowell. They're just citing case law that shows that it's relevant to impose sanctions against Caesar McDowell. Mr. McDowell's conduct during his deposition was utterly disrespectful, uncivil, and antagonistic, deserving this court's condemnation. It was a masterclass in bad faith. Damn. As detailed above, Ms. Pete sought Mr. McDowell's deposition because he serves as Peterson's key intermediary, funneling false information to defendant who broadcast it publicly. His testimony was critical to proving this coordination and how Peterson circumvents court orders through intermediaries. Instead of cooperating during his deposition, Mr. McDowell was combative and confrontational, harassed plaintiff's counsel with antagonistic comments, and engaged in immature and childlike conduct. Like the deponent in Ludwin, Mr. McDowell disrespected the judicial process when he rolled and smoked what appeared to be a marijuana cigarette, aka joint, during the deposition, threatened to urinate in the deposition room, and was disrespectful to plaintiff's counsel and staff. Mr. McDowell also offered false and evasive testimony, claiming he could not recall basic yes or no questions, even when presented with his own communications on the very subject he claimed he could not remember. When confronted with an Instagram post bearing his name as author and his signature as CEO of UTP, McDowell claimed he did not recall making the post and absolutely doubted that these were his words. Okay, Mr. McDowell's improper, disruptive, and contemptuous behavior made any semblance of a deposition impossible. In effect, he commandeered his deposition and turned it into a train wreck. His behavior offers the court grounds to easily find bad faith. The court should issue sanctions under its inherent authority to remedy Mr. McDowell's improper and obstructionist behavior and to protect the dignity of the court and the deposition process. They now get into his substantial interest in the outcome of this litigation, basically trying to help Milagro, or at least not further implicate her. Mr. McDowell is the CEO of UTP, which represented defendant for 6 months and continues to represent Daystar Peterson, Miss Pete's assailant, who is serving prison time for shooting her. Mr. McDowell's financial stake in this litigation runs deep. Despite promising pro bono representation, defendant, as in Milagro, paid Mr. McDowell for services before he abruptly stopped returning her phone calls when the case became difficult. They have a quote from Milagro. It was supposed to be pro bono. Caesar told me, because of Unite the People's role, that I needed to pay him directly. I started a campaign on Give, Send, Go. I withdrew the money, and I sent it to Caesar via Zelle in increments. I sent maybe about $9,000. So they allegedly told Milagro that they wouldn't have to pay, or that she wouldn't have to pay them, but she's paid allegedly in excess of $9,000 to Caesar McDowell, who turned out to be a nothing burger. Sure, he loves burgers, though. Mr. McDowell's action also demonstrates a vested interest in the outcome of this litigation. Mr. McDowell, through UTP, acts as the primary conduit between Daystar Peterson and outside supporters like defendant. Prison call logs show that Mr. McDowell spoke with Daystar Peterson dozens of times about defendant and this case, including updates about defendant's representation, coordinating public relations messaging about defendant and this case, and crafting media strategies to respond to media inquiries. Remember, Milagro was very gassed up about being mentioned on Complex, TMZ, etc. And that was after Tory Lanez and Caesar McDowell had conversations via jail calls about having outlets in which they could disseminate information. Interesting. All right, where do we go here? All right, blah, blah, blah. Mr. McDowell faces potential liability himself, both for his organization's role in the defamation campaign and for his personal misconduct in this litigation. His obstruction protects not just Daystar Peterson and defendant Cooper, but his own interests. Mr. McDowell substantially participated in these proceedings. From the moment Ms. Pete filed suit, Mr. McDowell and UTP have inserted themselves into this litigation and participated in it. Mr. McDowell and UTP initially agreed to represent defendant and issued a press release announcing the engagement. Instagram post by Unite the People, October 31st, 2024, attached as Exhibit C. Oh, Lord, it's me. They also offered to take on any other social media influence, journalism platform, journalist, podcast, or reporter of any type that has received this lawsuit against them or any other form of bullying harassment to silence them from their right to free speech. So they said, if you also have received any communications from Megan Thee Stallion and her team about bullying or harassment, please contact us so we can also take you on as a client. Mr. McDowell is engaged in text conversations with defendant about other witnesses in this case, like Livingston, the DJ that don't spin Allen. McDowell, Deposition Exhibit 96. Further, Mr. McDowell authored and distributed a statement from the UTP's Instagram account regarding the deposition of Daystar Peterson. In that statement, Mr. McDowell previewed the obstruction he would unleash during his own deposition when he wrote that if you know Tory Lanez how I do, good luck trying to get him to testify to anything, blah, blah, blah. We already read that quote. Helmack is instructive. There, the court issued sanctions against a non-party chief executive officer who played an active role in the conduct of this litigation when he obstructed discovery by ordering the destruction of company documents. Here, Ms. Pete alleges that Mr. McDowell and UTP play an active role in the obstruction of discovery in this litigation. Mr. McDowell encouraged Daystar Peterson to not comply with the court-ordered deposition. Mr. McDowell acted in bad faith at his own deposition, and evidence in this case has shown that Mr. McDowell conspires with third-party witnesses to withhold and evade Ms. Pete's discovery requests. Mr. McDowell's actions are not passive. He is an active participant in this action and obstructing Ms. Pete's access to the truth. Sanctions are appropriate. So they're saying that he's also communicated with the DJ that don't spin concerning his own deposition, which is concerning, mysterious, interesting to say the least. Conclusion. Mr. McDowell's conduct transformed a court-ordered deposition into a spectacle of contempt. To protect the integrity of this court's processes and obtain necessary discovery, Ms. Pete respectfully requests that the court order a second court-supervised deposition of Mr. McDowell and require him to bear the costs and attorney's fees incurred from his misconduct. Okay. Certificate of conferral, we don't need to get into that. But that is from the office of Megan Thee Stallion's legal team to the judge. Regarding that submission from Megan and legal team, the judge has granted that there will be a hearing. All right. So this cause came before the court on plaintiff's motion for an order to show cause why Cesar McDowell should not be sanctioned for deposition misconduct and for a redeposition being fully advised as it is. Ordered and adjudged that the motion, ECF number 124, is granted. Cesar McDowell is ordered to appear at a show cause hearing to determine whether he should be sanctioned for his conduct at the July 25th, 2025 deposition. The remote hearing is set for September 5th. So next week at 3 p.m., failure to appear at the show cause hearing in compliance with this order may result in further sanctions against Mr. McDowell, including an order holding him in contempt of court. Mr. McDowell shall be redeposed no later than September 22nd, 2025 at the show cause hearing. Mr. McDowell and plaintiff's counsel shall be prepared to propose 3 dates to the court on which the deposition can be held. The continuation of Mr. McDowell's deposition shall occur under my supervision, so the judge has agreed you're going to have to do it in front of me next time. Plaintiff has until September 2nd, 2025 to file a notice of service showing she served Mr. McDowell with a copy of this order and her motion by certified mail and email. All right, so September 5th, Mr. McDowell will have to sit in front of the judge, answer to his actions, and at that date, it will be determined whether or not he's going to have to unite the funds. Now, I'm not a legal professional, paralegal, court journalist, court documentarian, or nothing like that. But I don't really see how he's going to get himself out of this. So based on my own assumption, I think he's going to have to pay up. And I'm not even sure if he's in a position to do so. But, you know, best of luck with that. There will also be a redeposition, not only of himself, but I believe of Tory Lanez. So we'll see if those are equally combative or if there's anything to be discovered at a later time revolving around all of this. But everybody associated with Milagro at this point is going through it. That whole side, that whole crew, they're feeling the flames. Okay. It seems that the lawyer that Milagro hired, her current legal aid, is not actually prepared for this level of scrutiny or this level of litigation. So she's basically just paying for a placeholder to represent her in court. This person doesn't seem all that resourceful, doesn't seem all that experienced. This is a younger attorney, and he's being exposed for, you know, his lack. But let me know what y'all think of all this down below in the comments. Be sure to like and share this video. If this is your first time seeing me on YouTube, go ahead and subscribe to the channel, become an insider. I will catch y'all on the next one, and we will see in about a week or so if sanctions will be imposed on Caesar McDowell from Unite the People. All right? I'll see y'all later, though. Peace.
King of my city and cul-de-sac. Coming out swinging like soldier rag. Leading my people like quarterback. Boy, I study this shit, I'm an almanac. Had to get up and grind. Knowledge is booming, I'm here to apply. Came with the chip and the dip, it just single the mind. We finna do more than survive. I need my check. Spinning the block for the Gouda. We hitting the jeweler to flood out the net. We don't do beef for computers, I'm straight out the sewer. We come when you rest. Niggas be looking perplexed, so keeping my foot on their neck. No map, I trust my gut for the quest. With drama, I'm fully abreast. I was ready for years and they died of me. All of a sudden, they tell me they proud of me. I been dropping these haters like calories. Cross them out, I came back with some boundaries. Stand for my honor, but too raw, no corner. Packing the stick with a drummer. When I catch my bad, won't fumble. I done came too far to be humble.